Hey guys, it's Chase with csjoseph.life, and tonight's video is going to be on a lecture to complete how intimate relationships actually work and the theory that I've made to explain relationships, which is human attraction dynamics. So we've been talking about love and respect as part of the core components of a relationship, and what's more important to the feminine side, what's more important to the masculine side. We've been talking about what attracts the feminine to the masculine, which is nobility, what attracts the masculine to the feminine, and that is beauty, and then what fuels that nobility, which is esteem, and what fuels that beauty, and that is humility. So in order to explain that in terms of human attraction dynamics, which is a Nash equilibrium theory similar to governing dynamics, also known as game theory, I've developed a model to be used to help explain that theory. So I got my trusty whiteboard here, as usual. And this whiteboard explains that specific theory. So gotta readjust myself here so that everyone can see, including myself. So yes, this is human attraction dynamics. So let's work through the model just a little bit. So we know that R is respect, L is love, N is nobility, B is beauty, E is esteem, H is humility. We have the masculine side and we have the feminine side. So notice I just put some random backwards yin and yang, and yes, it is backwards, I know, I apologize, but not really, because I'm just doing what I want. So, backwards yin and yang. Typically, the white part represents the masculine, the black part represents the feminine, etc. And what's important to note about this is that they are primary versus secondary. So primary white, primary black, but it has a secondary black dot, secondary white dot, right? Well, that's basically the same for any component of human attraction dynamics. So, and I believe the first video we talked about love and respect. Well, that exists right here. This is a Venn diagram with two circles, one circle representing masculine, one circle representing feminine. You have love and respect right here. So big R, little l. So big R, little l would represent like the big white part for the masculine, big R, and then little l would be the feminine little dot, right? And then the big black part would be big L for big love, which is primary love, primary L versus primary respect, but primary L. And the little R would be little respect, which would be like the little white dot, etc. This is a yin and yang equilibrium in perfect balance with each other, and this represents the relationship between the masculine and the feminine, right? So in a romantic relationship, for example, you have a man providing love for his woman who is lovable. You have the woman providing respect for the man who is respectable, etc. And as a result, they're able to have a relationship, right? A lot of people are just like, oh, well, it's all about just love. And like, no, actually it's not. Because any man, any woman can love any man on the street. That's why a woman has to respect her man, because it's not good enough for a woman to say, I love you to a man. So that debunks that it's all about love theory and throws that out the window, because that's not even like based on true life or reality or true love or any of that. So, and we explain that love, no greater love than when a man gives, his beloved, he gives up his life for his beloved, etc. And then respect is what men need, is a primary need of real, actual, quality men, real men, not man-children, because they are respectable. So let's look at the attractors. So these are the attractors right here. So big nobility, again, yin and yang model, little beauty. So it's important for men, women definitely like beautiful men, let's be honest, but not as much as they prefer those men to be noble. Nobility comes first, beauty comes second in terms of what attracts women to men. And that's why the masculine needs to focused on building its nobility primarily, and then its beauty secondarily. Whereas with women, it's the other way around. On the feminine side, men prefer beauty of their women, and like if they're noble, okay, sure, that's great, but it's secondary. It's not like a requirement for a relationship to take place, right? Oh yeah, man, she's definitely pretty and she's super respectful, so she's got that beauty component. That's all I care about. It's the difference between that, that arrogant yet attractive CEO of a company versus that attractive but respectful Starbucks barista girl. You know what I mean? Like there's a difference there, and the man's going to choose the respectful barista girl over the arrogant CEO woman. Let's be honest. Oh, but you're a feminist and misogynist. No, actually, I'm a realist, and that's how relationships actually work. Intimacy cannot really truly take place if there is no form, if the woman is not being respectful in the relationship. But then again, the man has to make sure that he is respectable by maintaining and increasing his nobility intensely. And same for, on the feminine side, relationship can't take place. I mean, how many times do we hear about women who just let their body go after they get married? Actually, that's a statistic where like 60 to 70% of women do that after they get married, and men are aware of that. So women are wondering like why men are not committing to them. Yeah, I wonder why that's happening. I wonder why men are non-committal. Maybe it's because they're afraid of you getting fat after you get married, because like no one wants that. Let's be honest. Oh, but you're very vain, and I'm like, no, it's not about being vain. It's about being real. I'm just being real with you guys. Everyone's too afraid about talking reality in this society, and I'm tired of it. Let's talk about the truth, and this is how the truth is. This is the truth. This is how intimate relationships actually work, right? People need to realize that they have to mature, and a mature woman is going to take care of her body, in the same way a mature man is going to take care of his nobility. Like, it's not rocket science, guys. Well, apparently it is, because I have to do this to explain it to people. So, anyway, beauty is primary, nobility is secondary for women, nobility is primary for men, beauty is secondary. But what fuels that nobility? Well, what fuels it is esteem. Now, if you notice there's a little H right there. I talked about how women need to be providing humility in order to help build beauty, and that's what really separates the women from the girls, as it were. The mature females from the immature females. Now, let's use an example. So Tom Brady, right? He's got a lot of esteem. He's super esteemed. He's like the best NFL quarterback of all time, basically in history. And you know what? He's also extremely arrogant. He doesn't really have that much humility. That's why, that's an example of how humility is actually, kind of secondary for men. And that's why men oftentimes in general get accused of being arrogant. But, that's okay. They're esteemed. They can get away with it. And Tom Brady is a perfect example as to why they can get away with that. He's esteemed. And the more esteem he has, well, it doesn't matter if he's humble very much, because he's the man. He's like the star NFL quarterback of history at this point in time. So why wouldn't we let him be cocky about it? You know what I mean? Because that's how it works with men. Men are all about esteem, and they have to continue to esteem themselves to build up that nobility, to build up that respectability. Tom Brady's got a crap ton of nobility, right? And he's got the beauty component to go along with it. So, of course, people aren't really going to care as much if he's humble. Like, come on, Whereas on the feminine side of things, that's not the case. Humility is necessary to set them apart as a beautiful woman, because there's a lot of pretty women out there, but which ones of those pretty women are beautiful, right? Well, it's the women who actually have the humility in conjunction with their prettiness to create the beauty, because if they're a beautiful woman, that makes them lovable, right? And then the man is able to love the woman because she has that beauty component, because she's exercising humility and her prettiness at the same time. But if you notice, esteem is not that important. You know, men prefer the humility component. So humility is what really fuels, you know, primary humility, secondary esteem is what fuels beauty in this regard. You know, esteem is very secondary. Men don't really mind if women esteem themselves, you know, and try to like become Tom Brady, you know, the female version of Tom Brady, you know, or that form of equivalency. They just don't care that much about that because they want their woman to be humble, because that means if a woman is humble, she is respectful, and if she is respectful combined with her prettiness, she is beautiful, which means I can love her, which means I can take a bullet for her, which means I can no greater love than when a man gives up his life for his beloved, the true definition of true love. And if a woman wants that from a man, she better be humble, because that's what makes her beautiful. That's what makes her worth dying for. That's the point, folks. A lot of people don't understand that. So let's talk about king, warrior, magician, lover. People need to understand what nobility is, and king, warrior, magician, lover, I actually talked about that at length in a previous video in this series. I'm not going to go into too much detail here, but these are the 4 archetypes of the mature masculine. This is queen, warrior, magician, lover. These are the 4 archetypes of the mature feminine, and basically these are achieved by maintaining that humility component to be able to generate that beauty, and these are maintained by generating nobility by esteeming themselves. Men, if you're watching this, all you have to do is esteem yourself and never cease, and you will generate all of the nobility in the world, unlimited nobility, which will create unlimited magnetism and unlimited attractiveness from women, and then you don't have to spend your time chasing women anymore. Besides, if you're spending time chasing women, that means like women won't respect you, and then because they don't respect you, they're not going to be willing to have a relationship with you, much less get in bed with you. But if they do, and you're not really respectable, you know, it just kind of shows that like they have no standards and they're not exactly lovable, and you probably shouldn't be spending any time with them anyway, because like I said, women have this problem where they could just love about any jackass on the street, and that's why it's not good enough for a woman to say I love you. It's more important that the woman says I respect you, because what woman is going to do that? Like, let's be honest, not many. Just like women look at men and it's like, what women or what men actually take responsibility for their actions, which men take responsibility for meeting their own needs, which men know their personal goals, which men never allow anyone to break their personal boundaries, which men you know, have personal standards, you know, in the same way which women do have personal standards. You know what I mean? Those are the 4 pillars of self-intimacy. That's the next series we're going to be covering, but the 4 pillars. So just understand that. That's literally how this theory works, at least, you know, in terms of the human attraction dynamics game theory model up here with the Venn diagram. Now, for those of you that do not like Venn diagrams and would like a more cartoonish related model, I created the same thing down here using electricity. So if you take nobility and beauty, you have nobility and beauty right here represented as these like electrodes and whatnot, and then the actual relationship is a positive negative polarity electric relationship where you have love and respect, etc. right here, and then these like, so nobility would represent this one, and then beauty would represent this one as its electrode, and the power source that goes into powering this this like, it could be like a magnet, for example, powering this magnet or this electrode is humility, in the same way that esteem is powering the magnetism or the electricity of this electrode, of this magnet, and it's creating this electromagnetic field or this electricity here, which actually represents, you know, that spark, you know, of a relationship, and that's where the relationship has life, is within this model. So notice how, you know, love and respect is represented, and you have nobility and beauty as part of the electrodes, and then you have the power sources there. That's really how it works. And if you're single, all you have to do is just focus on your power source. Build up that esteem or build up that humility. If you're able to do that, you will end up generating more power to power your attractors and attract the opposite sex, and then all of a sudden you will have a relationship. That's literally how intimate relationships actually work. This is it. This is the mechanics of relationships right here. It's almost like physics, right? Now, literally, this is it. But look at it this way. Imagine, like, in this model, like, all of a sudden, you know, the men's nobility goes down. All of a sudden, in order to keep the relationship up, the beauty, you know, has to go up to keep equilibrium, or vice versa. Or if her beauty goes down, he has to overcompensate with more nobility for, you know, her beauty going down. Like, so, for example, her health gets really bad, she's in the hospital, he should generate additional money or support resources to try to assist with that situation. It just goes to show you how relationships are just in this perfect balance, and eventually, you know, one side of the relationship has to compensate for the other side at certain times, you know, and through communication and talking and additional loving and additional respect, and constantly keeping those values up at all times, it allows the relationship to endure, and continue. You know, a lot of people just don't understand this, you know. But anyway, this model is based on, you know, human attraction dynamics is based on it's based on human nurture. It's like the other side of the coin. I know I do a lot of videos on personality type, which is based on human nature. And if you imagine like a similar Venn diagram, human nature would like represent, you know, 60% up to 60, like, so that's 40%, you know, 20%, 40%, or yeah. And then, so 40% of the equation is human nature, 40% of the equation is human nurture, and then what's the middle part, right? Well, up to 60% of understanding a human being is human nature, and that would be their personality type. The rest of it would be human nature, and that's what this model represents when it comes to relationships, is just basically understanding that there's human nurture components in play when it comes to dealing with romantic or intimate relationships, right? So based on that, it's important to, yes, know your nature, know your partner's nature, or any potential partner's nature, and understand how compatible you are. And then after the fact, make sure that you have the nobility or the beauty to back it up, and that you are showing proper love and respect within your relationship. And you will literally have that relationship indefinitely. You can't lose. But, I mean, people decide to be ignorant instead, which leads to divorce and destroyed families and fatherless children. Great. Yeah, no. That's like literally the worst part of our society. The fact that children don't have any fathers, right? Well, there's a lot of reasons for that. And a lot of people blame men for that in this feminist society, but in reality, it's everybody's fault because everybody is equally ignorant. That's the problem, right? That's what I'm trying to do here, is reduce people's ignorance by telling people, hey, you have a nature, hey, you have a nurture, here's how you manage it, right? That way we can actually stop this horror of a society from crumbling and finally, you know, going down the way of the rainforest, right? As it's getting teared down limb for limb, right? Or the ozone layer, or climate change, or what. Insert whatever disaster you want, you know. I don't see first world society as something remotely sustainable. Why? Because children don't know their fathers. And maybe if women were more respectful, children's fathers would stay around. Or maybe if men were more responsible, children's fathers would still be around. You know what I mean? Like, guys, where's the nobility? Girls, where's the beauty? Okay? Where's the relationship? Stop alienating the children. Seriously, someone think of the children. Come on. They're our future, and do we really want to be raising up another fatherless generation? Generation after generation after generation, they're just so fatherless, and I'm so tired of it, and I'm tired of everybody being so ignorant about it. That's why I made Human Attraction Dynamics, to explain the mechanics of relationships so relationships can stay intact, so people know what they need to do to solve those problems. And so people can also identify through my human nature videos with personality type what their nature is, so they can see how compatible they are with people, know their quirks, know the quirks of other people, so that they can literally understand each other. Because if people understand each other's nature, they can work with each other to give each other the love and respect that they need to help with their nurture. And once those bases are covered, then the relationships will last together and we can all have families again for once. So anyway, that completes this series on how intimate relationships actually work and human attraction dynamics. If you found this video helpful or educational or insightful, please leave a like or and subscribe to the channel, support the channel. I'd appreciate it. If you have any questions about human attraction dynamics, please leave a comment in the comment section, and I'll do my best to answer that as soon as possible. And my next series, I believe, is going to be, at least Human Nurture series, is going to be on the 4 pillars of self-intimacy. We'll be discussing those at length as well. And I will also be continuing my 16 personalities series, and I have a few more series planned after that. So a lot more content to come, guys. So I'll be happy to see you there. Otherwise, I'll see you all tomorrow. Have a good night.